what's up? Hello, everyone. Welcome into Fantasy Filmball, the show where we turn movies into sports and sports into something we don't talk about here. My name is Matt.
And my name's Dyl. Before we review potentially our future Best Picture winner, if you're new here, Matt and I talk awards all season long. We host a Discord server where you can discuss all the new movie news with a fun and lively community, and even play in a game revolving around awards season. We just made a whole video about this game, which will be up in the title card above, and all the info about joining can be found down below.
Sing Sing is the new film directed by Greg Quaidar, of course starring the man himself, Colman Domingo, who plays a man named Divine G, imprisoned at Sing Sing Detention Center for a crime he did not commit. And he finds purpose in his life through acting in a theater group alongside other incarcerated people, including a wary newcomer, Divine I, played by the remarkable Clarance Maclin. This is a stirring true story of resilience, humanity, and the transformative and healing power of art, starring an amazing ensemble cast that frankly blew me away, of almost entirely formerly incarcerated actors.
And now let's dive into some general thoughts with the film, and to be or not to be a fantastic film, that is the question, and the answer is an unequivocal yes when it comes to Sing Sing. This cinematic gem transcends ordinary storytelling, weaving you into the intricate lives of its richly developed characters, and just the directorial prowess that just shines through in the film draws you into a world where the euphoria of friendship and the weight of life's struggles are experienced with profound intensity. Colman Domingo, who is hot off last year's Oscar-nominated Rustin, delivers yet another stellar performance that commands so much respect, but for me at least, it is Clarance Maclin who truly steals the spotlight. His portrayal is a masterclass in both depth and rawness. He effortlessly captures the essence of his character with such nuance that's just so impossible to look away. The emotional resonance and authenticity he brings to this role makes his performance a true standout that I think we'll be talking about all throughout awards season. There's just so much to admire inside of Sing Sing, from its compelling narrative to its rich character development. I find myself so eager to watch this film again once it hits wide release from A24 on August 23rd.
This is a special movie. It's rare to see a film where you get to see life captured on screen. Not a story, not something made up, not something that's out of the imagination of a few filmmakers and writers. This is life. This is the true experiences of the actors of the film, and that's what makes this so special. We don't get that level of authenticity all that often. You were mentioning that it transcends ordinary storytelling, and it certainly does. There's this feeling to the narrative of weightlessness. There's no grand plot. There's no thing that the characters are all charging after. There's nothing that they want, nothing that they need. It defies convention of what we expect from typical narratives in favor of just letting us experience life with these people, letting us watch their rehearsals. It makes me think back a little bit in very small ways to Drive My Car, which was a film about people talking and rehearsing. And there's such beauty in watching the magic of a piece of theater coming together. No, it doesn't matter whether it's good or not. What matters is the beauty of the process. What matters is that these men have an escape from their everyday lives, from the mundanity of spending each day just waiting for a sentence to be carried out. And we get to watch them enjoy life in these moments. It's beautiful, beautiful. Colman Domingo, man. What a stunning performance. And it's not one of those performances that draws a lot of attention to itself. You know, looking back at Rustin last year, that was a big performance that drew attention to itself. And for this, there's just such subtlety, such frustration. He wants the rehearsals to go a very specific way. He has a very specific idea in his mind because he knows that while everyone else is probably getting out sooner or later, he knows he's fighting against a system that is rigged against him, that a system that incarcerated him for a crime he knows he did not commit, that even though he's innocent, he's going to be in there for a very long time. And you see the sadness and the frustration bubbling, and this is truly his only space that he gets to be himself. And Clarance Maclin, God damn, I think that's a name we're going to be talking about a lot in the next few years. Not just this year. I think this guy is a star. This performance is absolutely star-making. From the first second he gets on screen, he holds you. He just grabs you, and every choice he makes is brilliant. Now, something that I feel like a lot of people are going to start saying as we get deeper into the year, as we get deeper into the awards season, is people are going to start saying, well, he's just playing himself. How hard can that be? How hard can that be? Why are we giving him all these awards? It's like he's just going on camera. No. The vulnerability, the authenticity needed to get to that place, to capture a part of you that is both real and imagined, to find the realism, to find the vulnerability, that is true acting. Acting's not just being something else. Acting is accessing those parts of yourself. And that just blew me away. This is one of the finest performances that I've seen in years. I can't think of anyone else who... We hear a lot people criticizing actors for playing themselves in every movie. I hear it a lot for George Clooney. But I can't think of a role where someone's actually played themselves. Maybe like Nicolas Cage in The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, or like John Malkovich in Being John Malkovich. But those are very specific cases because they're playing themselves because they're a notable public figure. I don't know if I can think of any other actor who's played themselves as just a normal person. Can you?
I can't really, but I mean, those two examples that you just gave are actors playing themselves like a characterized version of themselves. I'm sure that's not who Nick Cage is every day or John Malkovich on any given Sunday. Those are like the fictionalized, haha, laugh at you type of way. And I think quite the contrary. If you had to play yourself, it would be super, super duper difficult because like, how do you even go about trying to emulate who you were, not in this moment, but like 10 years ago, 5 years ago? What were you thinking in those moments? How were you feeling in those moments where like, sure, it may be easier for an actor to have a moment to leap off of because it is their own personal story, but I feel like that just makes the weight of it all so much more heavier because like you have to get it right because you're not just playing someone else, you're portraying yourself in one of your most intimate and one of your most personal moments throughout your journey.
Especially with what a journey he's had since then. I mean, for the last 15, 20 years, Clarence Maclin has been working for rehabilitation through the arts, going back into prisons and working with incarcerated people through the organization. So he is now one of the leaders of the group, as we see Paul Raci playing in the film. That's what Clarence Maclin does for a living now. Also, loved the direction here. Really loved the use of close-ups, the use of natural lighting in a lot of scenes throughout. The way that the camera got really close up allowed you to live with the actors almost, to kind of see what's going on behind their eyes. Loved those choices. Were there any other choices in the movie that kind of stood out to you?
Definitely, I have to agree about the visual presentation. I think it's 2 or 3 different instances where this is like this 360-degree shot that gets to showcase a moment with each member of the group. I think that really puts you into those scenes and makes you feel like you are a member there. And you talk about close-ups. I think this film also does a great job of its wide shots, enhancing the same effect, because in those same group scenes when they're all acting together, the camera just sits out wide while you watch them do whatever routine they're trying to do, so you can focus on whatever member you really want to in those moments. You're not just stuck with this one individual member. And I think the camera had lots of fluid movements throughout that really just, like I keep saying over and over again, this film does an amazing job of putting you in this room with everyone else. I will say I had one minor issue with the visual presentation of this film, and I just think it's with these like film flickers. I don't know if it was just my screen or it's an intentional thing overall, but for me, it didn't really work for me. It just seemed like, oh look, what we can do, instead of more like fitting with the tonal aspects of the rest of the film. But besides that, I really have no issues with Sing Sing from top to bottom.
That's really interesting, because I liked that visual style, so the griminess, almost like they printed the film out on film and then scanned it back to digital and, dirtied up the film a little bit. I liked that style. I also really liked the sequences where they had the incarcerated actors doing monologues directly to the camera. The audition scene in particular, where we really get to meet each of these people and we hear their names and they tell us a little bit about their stories and they tell us what roles they want. That was my favorite sequence in the movie. Just to Greg Quadar's credit, it takes a really strong filmmaker to disappear and to make it so that your film has a unique and distinct voice, but is simultaneously not like getting in the way of what the actors are doing. The film clears out and allows the actors to have their space, but it still keeps that very distinct visual style, visual presentation. If I were to make one complaint about the film, I do think that the music, it's not that it got in the way, it just completely blended into the background, almost as though I didn't even notice it at times. Like, the music might as well have been non-existent, in my opinion. And maybe that's just me. I've heard a lot of people complimenting Aaron Dessner's work, but I found it to be almost nothing to the film.
I would agree with that, but I don't think that's much of an issue for me. I think it, furthermore, what you're talking about as well, emphasizes the actors. It puts you there, as I keep saying, in the moment. And it, just like you said, takes a back seat, just like the direction, to showcase the acting, the performances. And along those same lines, another thing I would have liked to see a little bit more throughout is, while I did enjoy and appreciate the film's focus on just pivotal moments throughout these characters' journeys, I would have liked a few more just to showcase the highlighting of the brotherhood, the compassion, and the magnetic quality of this friend group, so we can feel the pain a little bit more when those painful moments happen, and we understand the triumph and the strength of when these positive moments happen throughout them. Because sometimes it feels like we go from, oh, things are going good, and then one thing goes wrong, and then it's like, oh, how did we get to this moment? It feels like we missed a beat, sort of thing, where like in another film maybe there's too many of that. But like I said, overall, what we did in this film really worked for me, so I don't really want to judge it for like what I would have liked to see instead.
Yeah, I will say that the lack of adherence to traditional structure, which I was talking about earlier, I think it lends this really beautiful quality and allows us to experience the moments throughout life. It does rob the film of a little bit of an emotional arc. Personally, did not make me cry. I wanted to, but it didn't do it for me, and I think a lot of that is just what you said, that the pacing is at times a little bit off, where it'll go from these very slow moments where we're just watching them rehearse and we're watching them go through their lives and we're watching the mundanity of the routine inside the prison, and then suddenly they're best friends, and 5 minutes ago they were enemies, and we didn't see the crucial steps in between. Again, there's so much that's beautiful about this film. The ensemble work is beautiful. Greg Quaidar does a great job behind the camera. I just do have a few issues with the script.
I mean, you talk about crying. I rarely get close at all during movies. It happened with Inside Out a few months ago where I got close, but I didn't cry. In fact, the last movie I thought I did cry during was all the way back in 2022 with the film Close. But Sing Sing got me not just once, but it got me twice. And I think when you watch this movie, you'll know exactly what scenes they are. And I mean, just diving into a rating here, I'm gonna have to give this one a 9 out of 10. I thought Sing Sing pretty much blew my expectations out of the water. I was a little bit nervous going in because, similar to a film like Past Lives from last year, you hear so much praise for a movie for so long. Past Lives was from like January that year until when I saw it in July. This film was from like September of last year until when I saw it in July this year. There's so much anticipation, there's so much build up, your bar is so high, and I just feel like everything about Sing Sing was better than what I could have imagined it to be.
I wish that I felt like you and cried. That said, I did love the movie probably just as much as you. I've been waiting to see this since TIFF last year, when I avoided seeing it, not knowing that it was going to be great, and now here it is, and it is great. I'm going to give this one a light 9 out of 10. It's close to an 8, but I'm going to give it the 9 because there's so much special about this. It's rare that you see a film as authentic, as heartfelt, as real as this one, and that makes this truly, truly special. Now, I don't know if that rating's going to go up later on in the year when I rewatch this, but right now I feel pretty comfortable with that 9.
And now, since we are an Oscars channel, I feel like we gotta talk about its awards chances. This was the early Best Picture frontrunner for a lot of people. I've had it at number 1 pretty much all year, so I'm gonna try to assess this film with an impartial eye instead of looking at it from a biased eye, since I did really like the film. But clearly, Sing Sing is flying under the radar. This is evidenced by A24's release strategy. It started its limited run over a month ago, and it's not gonna hit wide until the end of this month. At least seems to me they're trying to hold the buzz, hold the positivity they saw last year, Past Lives. Hey, we hit Sundance, it gets big buzz. We come out in the summer, has big buzz, but it kind of dies out by the time award season comes. That film just got picture, it just got screenplay. It's like, if we look at the best case scenario for Sing Sing, I could see picture, director, actor, supporting, adapted. Then that's when we come to the stuff that it really needs its best day. We have editing, we have score, we have song, but those last three are ones where unless this film's top 3, top 4 for picture, I don't really see those coming along. And then director really hinges on, can this win Best Picture? If this is in the Best Director line, then I think Sing Sing could be a surprise dark horse Best Picture winner with all these other big films throughout awards season. But if it's just getting those 2 acting nominations and screenplay, then I think it's on the bottom half of the Best Picture line. But what about you, Matt? What do you think?
Well, that's where I'm at. I think this is on the bottom half of the Best Picture lineup. I had been pretty high on this before. I don't think I've ever had it number 1, but I've always had it floating around that top 2, top 3, saying that this is a win contender, mostly because for most of the year, I've believed that this would be taking Best Actor for Colman Domingo, and that this would be taking Best Adapted Screenplay. Now, after watching it, I still think that a nomination for Best Picture is almost certain unless A24 pivots harder than they've ever pivoted before. Now, after picture, it starts to get a little hard thinking, what else do we got? I mean, the acting nomination seems sure. Best Actor for Colman Domingo, Best Supporting Actor for Clarance Maclin. But that said, beforehand, I'd thought maybe Colman Domingo could win. And I think the subtlety of his performance, there's going to be bigger, louder performances later on in the year. And as we've seen kind of year after year, the subtle performances don't often win if you're not a juggernaut. Oppenheimer last year, Cillian Murphy was able to win with a subtle performance because the film was an absolute tank. But the year before, think back to like Colin Farrell in The Banshees of Inisherin. You don't really crush with a subtle performance. You need those big moments. And Colman does get a couple of big moments, but they're a little bit too late into the film. Clarance Maclin, on the other hand, feels like he could be a winning performance. That feels strong. He's got those big moments. He's got those loud moments. And he's got a great narrative. But we're going to have to wait and see how Samuel L. Jackson is received. Because if Samuel L. Jackson in The Piano Lesson is received well at all, even just like, yeah, he's solid, then he's winning. He's winning. It's his time, you know? But Clarance Maclin is a really strong threat for a win. Because the only other nomination I see for the film is Adapted Screenplay. And I think it's really strong for a nomination. But after watching it, I don't see this as a winning script. And I'm moving it down in my Best Picture lineup because if it can't win screenplay, then it can't win picture. I don't have it getting a director nomination. I don't have it getting an editing nomination. I most certainly don't have score or song. For me, I think this is a lot closer to Past Lives than people expect or want it to be. Anyways, that brings us to the end of the video. As always, thank you so much for watching. My name is Matt.
And my name is Dyl, and this has been Fantasy Filmball.